What's your situation? Where are you in Italy?
We are in Rome. We've been in Rome all along. We didn't. We decided just to do Rome this time, and we were supposed to be here until the 16th, which is Monday. But we've been able to catch a flight out on Friday.
Are you looking forward to getting out? And if so, why?
Well, to tell you the truth, we feel like the sooner we can get out, the better, because we're afraid about getting stuck here at this point in time. Things have been so fluid, they've moved along so quickly with the virus ramping up. And so we just want to make sure that we're going to be able to get home.
What's it like there? Is it really quiet? I hear police are all over the place enforcing the rules.
Yeah, they are. It's really rather surreal right now. A lot of the people are just staying indoors as they've been asked to do. And so, very few people out on the streets, very few shops open, very few restaurants are open. The police are patrolling, the military is out. We hear the helicopters overhead. It's eerily quiet. My husband said it's almost like a scene out of Walking Dead.
Wow. I is Rome? Is it a hot spot for the virus? I know some places aren't and some are. And
Actually, Rome was not as hard hit as many of the other areas in the country. I don't have the current numbers, but a few days ago, Seattle actually had more cases of coronavirus than Rome did.
do you feel like your health is being protected by virtue of that and the distance that you're keeping from others and that kind of thing?
I think that because it hasn't hit Rome as hard, we feel fairly protected, but we've noticed more people walking around with masks. The government's asking us to stay at least 3 feet away from each other. So you get a feeling that things are really getting serious around here, and it makes us all that much more anxious to go home.
You said surreal. It just must be. It described what it's like to walk through the plaza or go eat at a restaurant, and what that experience is like right now.
Well, today we were feeling so cooped up inside the apartment, we decided to go for a walk and get some gelato and actually sit out in the piazza because it's a beautiful day here. And the military was out, the police were patrolling around there, very few patrons in the restaurants that were open, most were closed. There was a man who was singing opera trying to get a few coins in his hat. The police started coming by and he packed up everything really quickly and headed out because people are not supposed to wander around. They're supposed to go out only if they have a medical necessity, a work necessity, or if they need some basic supplies, some food.
Wow. And people are abiding by that for the most part, or?
I think for the most part they are. We actually, I guess, in a sense, we made an excuse. We went and got some gelato and went and sat outside, but we felt a little uncomfortable about being outside and just sitting there, without something to do.
Right. Well, you got to eat, and sun is good for you. So, but I could understand feeling that way. How are the people? I mean, like you said, this guy packed up and left. I don't know if you've had enough contact with people to get the sense of how the Italians are feeling about this.
Well, originally they were feeling like the government was doing a little bit of overreach. They felt that it wasn't that serious and that the government was making a big deal out of it and keeping people out of the area. Suddenly that all changed. People are pretty somber about the whole thing. There are more people who are wearing masks and cognizant of how close you are to them. Today, when we exited the apartment, there was a woman standing on the street and she suddenly stopped and just stared at us and didn't come any closer.
Wow, that's wild. Now you're there with your daughter as well. Is that right?
Well, both the kids have left. My
Oh,
son got out a few days ago. He went to New York City. He had no problems. My daughter left early this morning. Her flight on British Air had been canceled. They were no longer flying out of Rome to London Heathrow. So she was able to get a flight on a smaller airline to London Gatwick, had to Uber over to London Heathrow, and is still waiting to get on her flight there to the United States. We were able to go ahead and change our flight. We were on Delta, now we're going to be on Alitalia to get out of here.
and that's on Friday.
Yes,
Yeah. Do
on Friday.
you feel pretty confident it's going to go? Or do you have any
I
concerns
sure
there?
hope so.
Yeah.
Things have changed pretty fast. We have a driver that we've used periodically throughout our stay here, This morning when he came to pick up my daughter, he was wearing a mask and he was told he needed to stay 3 feet away from his customers. He's also been told by the government he has to clean out his van every time he takes a customer someplace.
What was it like early in your stay? Did you have the place to yourselves before you were kind of quarantining yourself? Were you able to go out and see the sights kind of freely?
We were able to go out and see the sites that we wanted to see. There were very few people, so we could really see things really well without all the crowds. But we were glad that we went and saw everything early on, because suddenly, overnight, everything closed down. Pompeii was closed, the Colosseum was closed, the Vatican museums were closed. Everything shut down. So we were very fortunate that we got to see them early.
Wow. So I think in a little bit, Washington Governor Jay Inslee is going to set some restrictions in for gatherings. I think anything over 250 people is going to be disallowed. What do you, I mean, from your perspective, being there and looking back at the U.S. and what's happening here, I don't know, do you have a different perspective on what maybe should be happening here or that isn't, or are we doing enough are you comfortable coming home with what we're doing, or you know what I mean?
Right. I'm no expert on infectious diseases, so I
Sure.
really can't comment on that part. We have been keeping close contact though on the news over there. We've been watching on our iPad, and I don't know, it's hard to say exactly what we should do in the United States. As I understand it, when I saw a graph today from a statistician, that the ramp up in the United States is mirroring that in Italy. And so I think there is a real concern that this is going to blow really out of hand.
And some I think have been critical of Italy going as, you know, shutting down the whole country. So what do you think? Is it, I mean, is it overkill, or is it reasonable, or how are people feeling about that?
Well, I can tell you that the people of Italy think that it was overkill. Definitely. Right off the top, they said, we are testing. It just looks like it's really bad here because they're testing people religiously, they're hospitalizing them. We have a great hospital system. I wonder how they feel now, given the circumstances. I think that the situation here has gotten far, far worse, and that people are finally realizing it isn't just a government overreach.